if you were going to be in the service of designing for and creating tools and technology for others, then you have to really understand that every bit of data, every story is valuable, including your own.
Welcome to the Technical Difficulties Podcast. I'm Liz Gerber and a design professor at Northwestern.
And I'm Lauren Lynn, and I'm a student who has also worked in the design industry. Each week, we speak with women leaders in design and technology.
Welcome or welcome back to the Technical Difficulties Podcast, where we celebrate the careers of amazing female designers and technologists. We are so excited to welcome Raja Schaar. Raja is an award-winning educator, industrial designer, and thought leader who's shaping the future of socially responsible design. As an associate program director and assistant professor of product design at Drexel University, she's leading groundbreaking interdisciplinary research, from wearable tech to maternal health to empowering Black girls in STEAM through dance and design. With roots in museum exhibit, design, and a passion for sustainability, Raja's work transforms communities. Get ready for a conversation that redefines what it means to design for justice, health, and humanity. We can't wait to hear from you, Raja. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So fun. So, warm-up question for you, which is, what is your favorite way to start your morning?
Oh, favorite way.
Yes. Not necessarily how you woke up this morning.
I need a routine, but I don't really have a routine. But I think if I did it the way that I plan to, I would actually roll out of bed and have coffee and be walking my dogs with a cup of coffee in hand.
Oh, lovely.
But they're a little bit crazy.
It's okay. We can live in a fantasy world.
And they zigzag, so if I carried coffee, it would be splashing all over me. And also, I tend to drink like espresso, so it only lasts for like a sip. But in my mind, it's like a big steaming mug or like a thermal mug. And I'm like sauntering down the sidewalk with my little dogs trotting along. But instead, it's more like I'm getting twisted up.
Oh, I love that.
I've never actually done it, but it's a fantasy.
It's a fantasy. I love, maybe that should be the question. That's a fantasy. Yeah. My fantasy
But instead, I sometimes get the coffee down before they are barking too loud at me to go like, let's go.
You do enthusiasm. You got to go with what you got. Thank you for that. My next warm-up question is, what is your favorite creativity tool? And broadly defined, you decide.
Creativity tool. Besides my brain.
Oh, wait, say more about your brain. I want to hear more about that as a tool.
That's where the ideas come from. They live up there in the cerebellum or whatever, the prefrontal cortex. I actually don't know where creativity lives, but it's up there. But I'm trying to think. I definitely am a maker. So maybe it's my hands. Maybe the tool actually is my hands, but from pencil to needle to all the things that you can do to make stuff, but I think I would have to say hands.
I love hands.
But you can use your hands to like mold stuff, to write stuff, to scribble, to punch, to knock over, to build. So, yeah.
2 questions. Do you have a preference for the right or left? And do you wish you had a third hand?
I am right-handed. I would say it's not my preference. I don't really care which hand. I actually broke my right hand in 5th grade, and it was the first time ever that I had A's on my handwriting because I was using my left hand, and I had to actually slow down to write the letters.
Wow.
So everybody's like, oh, you're actually ambidextrous? I was like, I think maybe I might be left-handed, but I just never used it. What
do you do now? That's fascinating. So what do you write with?
I write with my right hand, but if I need to use my left hand for something, I can do it.
Whoa, that's very cool.
It's not back and forth, so it's not definitely like my default is my right. I feel like
you're right.
So I'm right-handed, I think, but I don't prefer the right hand. I prefer whatever hand is closest to the thing.
Okay, and if I could give you a third hand, would you take it?
Yes.
Attached to your body in some
way. It would be Go-Go Gadget. I would have like a hat that would spring out, and it would be my Go-Go Gadget hand.
I love those animals that use like the tails as sort of hands. I've often thought a tail could be a useful third hand. Thank you for those warm-ups. We'll now move on to your career. So the question I have for you, I'd like to start with is, how did you get started in the field of technology and design? Was there a, like, I'm a designer moment, or was it only in retrospect? How do you think about that?
I think, initially, like as a kid, what I want to be when I grew up, it was like I had a list of 15 things in order. Like, okay, first I'll do this, then I'll do this, then I'll do this.
Okay, what were they? Give us some examples.
Well, one was I was going to be an environmental lawyer.
Oh.
Then I was going to run my own advertising agency like Angela Bauer did on Who's the Boss. So I'll be a CEO.
She was amazing. Okay.
And then when I retire, I was going to be a kindergarten teacher or dance instructor. And then, anyway, and then I was going to own a bakery. Then I was going to own all these things could still happen.
They very much could. And in some ways they are still, they are happening. You've woven parts
but
of
the
these into
reason
your
I
life.
wanted to be an environmental lawyer is because I just felt like we were just polluting the planet. And so then I kind of got interested in engineering and design or making stuff, or what's involved in kind of figuring out how to make things. And I would say that cemented around middle school, where it became more focused on having fun in classes like the industrial arts class, where we would build everything from like model cars or play around the dark room or whatever. It was just like a fun.
And you had that in middle school?
Yeah, it was called industrial arts.
Wow, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, and meanwhile, you're also watching Angela Bauer on Who's the Boss? Be in charge. She was kind of a unique figure at that time. Like, she was a female entrepreneur and leader, right? And she had a man who worked for her as her nanny, essentially, right?
And she was running a creative career. Like, it was like someone who was coming up with ideas and talking about them at home and going back and working with clients. And, it was interesting to actually see what life was like in the day in the life outside of like a newspaper or a ER or a cop. Like,
right. It was an alternative career.
Yeah, like we actually got to see her think about it and also like compete for different things. So that was interesting. I think, there's moments like that. And there's also like watching Tom Hanks in Big was also like a big moment for me too.
Yeah. What did that one do for you? That got me into the toy industry, but what did it do for you?
Exactly. That's it. But I was like, oh, this is how they make decisions on all the toys that I want to change. Mm-hmm. And I have some ideas. I have some complaints. Apparently, I can have a focus group and I can sit around a room full of suits and be the smartest person in the room because apparently adults don't know anything about toys.
That was the message of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like those were, I would say, like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade is when I kind of got interested on the design side. And I wouldn't say it was so much interested in technology for technology's sake, except that my parents we had a subscription to Scientific American and we'd always like buy these things from the catalog. And so,
what would you buy from the catalog?
Like slides and microscopes and telescopes and all these science experiments. All these STEM kits before they called them STEM kits.
The STEM kits, right? And then you'd go to Radio Shack, which is a crazy blast from the past. What was possible? And then we had like the Robbie robot. I don't know if you remember. There was Robbie this remote control robot with a tray, and it had probably proximity sensors, like for eyeballs, and it would bring you a drink. And watching the Jetsons and like having this Robbie another
robot,
cartoon of the future. Right?
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, finally, like Rosie's coming to life. So I would say I was enamored with it, but didn't really want to do anything. But my mom is she had her specialist degree in instructional technology.
Oh, is that right?
So she was very big and then she taught like as an adjunct at the university, and she was a social worker and then a media specialist and then teaching computer classes and had us coding or working in spreadsheets and doing Excel formulas so we could help her with like inventory for the library. And I was like, I don't want to have anything to do with coding or computers, Mom. This is so boring. And she was like, well, I need you to build this website. So here's HTML. You're going to learn it. And I was like, I'm never going to have to use this ever in my life.
Seriously, your mother made you learn HTML? That's
in high school. I thought it was the biggest waste of time. And then I got to college and I realized that I could use things and people were struggling to use those things. And I was like, I learned this in 10th grade. This is,
you know what's going on.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short
Oh
is my
my
mom got
gosh.
me on comfortable with learning technology, and it didn't seem laborious, but it wasn't something that I like thought I chose to do. I was
Yeah.
very much into the hands-on making, touching things. My sister actually went into computer science in undergrad, and I was like, no, I want to paint and build. But then I started using like computers for a lot of stuff. So I would say probably high school, I got into it, and by college, I was adept with it. And then that's it.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. I love that your mother made you do things that
Yes.
that
Yeah.
you
She
thought were
forced me to sit
ridiculous.
in front of a very slow computer. Just so we're clear, we're talking about 30 years ago. They
Oh,
were,
I'm
it
sure it was
was
exceptionally slow,
painful.
painfully slow.
Painful.
um, Excellent. Actually, I do have a question. I've been thinking about the speed of technology now and how quick everything happens. Do you think there was any benefit to the slowness at that
Okay.
time?
So
Or was
I
that a leading question? That was a leading question. What do
No,
you
I mean,
think?
okay, I don't think it's leading. This is my reflection on it. The slowness of technology, I think, from a macro pace, I think allowed us to really be intentional about the way we were using it and kind of plan
Mm,
for it and
hmm
come up with ideas about how it should be used and then
mm,
build technology to enact with those ideas. Now we
yeah.
have technology, we're like, what should we do with this? What should we do with this? What should we do with it? We
Yeah.
should do something with it immediately, tomorrow, like, and then make money off of it and then change it. And then it gets ahead of us. So I feel like technology is getting ahead of us, but also I recently was watching the Gilmore Girls, like I've been binging it. And one of the very first episodes, there's a mother and daughter. So
Yes.
Lorelai and her daughter Rory. Her daughter's going to a new school, and so her mother decides to get Wi-Fi or DSL for the household. And she was like, "How dare you get us DSL? I want dial-up because it's slow enough that while we're logging on, we can make a sandwich and go do laundry and do all these other
Uh,
things before the." And I was thinking about the pace of just like
ah,
and like everything is so immediate. We expect
yeah.
it to be there. And even like getting a text, like, you got my text, right? It's like, yeah, but you used to be able to like come home, take your shoes off, and then listen to a message and then take your time to decide when you wanted to do it. But now
Correct.
the expectation is because everyone knows on the other side, it's instantaneous. There's no downtime, there's no slow time. So that's going to be my answer to the slow. I think it's okay for slow. I think slow can be good in many ways. Intentional, careful, but also gives us time to just be present.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, presence is seems like a increasingly fleeting resource. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. Uh Continuing. What is one surprising thing you've learned so far in your career journey?
That
And
not enough.
it could be a career like failure moment if you want to be vulnerable for a
Mm.
moment, or it could be a wild success, or both.
I guess one surprising thing, and maybe this is just like a personal philosophical reflection, that
Uh-huh.
I don't feel like enough people are afraid of the consequences of the
Oh,
decisions they
interesting.
make. And
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, I was just talking to someone was just here like helping repair like a retaining wall. And we were kind of talking about no, not enough people have seen like Terminator. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're in this day and age where, like, AI is taking over and we don't really know how it's working, and the computers are talking to each other and they're
Yeah.
building their own language. And it's like,
Yeah.
we realize that, like, we've set up all these, like, scenarios and stories that kind of told us about, like, what the worst case scenario could be. And
Yeah.
it seems that everyone is hurtling towards it faster. Like, they're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, let's see if that actually will happen. I'm like, or not. So I guess people aren't afraid enough. A healthy level of respect for the tools that we've created. And I would say that's like something that you would expect when you're doing safety trainings in like a shop, right? Here's a lathe, here's a bandsaw, here's this thing. Have a healthy level of respect for this tool that is very useful in helping you create and make and cut up and do all these things so that you
Yeah.
can build homes and houses and furniture, but also can cut your fingers off, right? And there's something about that sort of just safety briefing that doesn't seem to have sunk in on the technology side as much. And I think, we're doing it with like warnings, like things like, oh, security warnings or privacy things. We just sign our lives away. Just like, oh, it'll be okay. So that's one surprise I have is not enough people seem to be as concerned as I would think. So yeah.
I love your example of the lathe because I was just in the machine shop yesterday and I introduced the lathe as the thing that, could seriously harm you. And I gave, like that was part of the introduction. You can do amazing things and this could really hurt you. And what strikes me about what you're saying is I wonder, going back to the body and our relationship to the body, it's easy for us to imagine losing our hand and how devastating that would be. And I just wonder if the cost of using these other tools is just too far away, not visible. Like, if that's why we don't heed these warnings, right? Somebody says you're going to cut your hand off, you listen. Somebody says, you're going to cognitively decline and lose your memory and not be able to interact with human beings anymore. Not that I'm not saying that's that's one worst case scenario. And it's like too far off to imagine that.
The abstractness of it, I think, is something. And also the time, like, I don't, we talk about attention spans, but I think we can also just think about how far out people can imagine things. Yeah, and like I read somewhere a couple years ago that like more than like 2 weeks out, like the human brain is like, I can't, I don't know. I check back later. Like I can't imagine that far. Like our ability to foresee a future because there's so many different possibilities is so overwhelming when our brain actually attempts to do it. So I think that the discomfort or the cognitive dissonance with things going wrong, like our brain protects itself, right? It's like, oh, okay, don't, even like, they say intrusive thoughts. Like if you imagine, like you just said, cutting your hand off, you're like, oh, I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, right away. Yeah.
Like immediately, like your brain is like, oh, no, we just won't stick our hand there and we don't have to worry about it. Like that's how we'll do it. We'll just be safe. So I think that there is a level of either like the lack of imagination where we just can't imagine like what it would be like if it went wrong because there is no visual of like losing a finger when you talk about like what's the consequence of loss of privacy or data mining or any of these things. But I do think that for a lot of people, we need to figure out a way to share it. And I guess it's not Terminator. I guess it's not some android cyborg or anything like that. But there's got to be some way that we can just talk about these consequences, especially as we're teaching students. I mean, I think teaching proper procedures, safety, PPE, the digital version, the technological, the digital version of personal protective equipment. Like, what does that look like in a way that people are comfortable with the consequences, but still comfortable with using the tool? So like, I'm learning to use the tool. I'm going to use this tool. I'm going to apply this. I have this vision for the thing I want to build using it, but I also know how to do it safely without hurting myself or others.
I love the idea of the digital PPE is brilliant. Yeah, really brilliant. Thank you. Thank you very much. So in your learning journey, I imagine, I love the role that popular media has played in your life. I think it's brilliant. And I think enough people don't talk about it. So thank you for sharing all those. I'm wondering in the real world, if you've had mentors who have played a particularly important role in your life, if they pushed you forward during times of uncertainty, and if there's any advice they shared or particular moments.
Yeah, so I would say like an early mentor that I had at university. So I went to Georgia Tech for undergrad, and one of the people I encountered there I guess throughout my life, she passed away recently, was Billy Pendleton Parker. And I would say that there's probably 1,000 people that would probably say that she was like a close mentor of theirs who like took care of them.
Wow, what an amazing human being.
She was an amazing human being.
Influence.
But one of the things that she'd always say was, strive for significance, not success, right? And it was one of those things that, and perfection was boring. She'd always tell us that. So I think she was, around a lot of these type A students who were finally being challenged for the first time, and everybody was kind of falling apart. And I'm sorry, my dog is trying to play with the other dogs. I gotta like pause for 1 second because I have to
do
like,
what you need to do.
I'm going to be throwing a toy for in the next couple seconds.
That's okay. That's okay.
Sorry about that. Once he's ready to play, it's like, and he picks on one of the brother dogs and then annoys the heck out of him while he sleeps, and then they bark at each other. This is every day.
Every day.
I'm so sorry.
Well, as you were just saying, perfection is boring.
Yeah, perfection is boring.
If you just had dogs that sat on couches and behaved, that would be boring. This is not perfection. This is
So one of the things that she talked about was like the striving for significance, and she was saying it's not about success. It's not about winning. It's not about the acclaim. It is like the impact that you make on the world. Yeah. And she was one of the people that really pushed me as like a student into leadership roles. Like even like once I became like a faculty member when I was teaching at Tech, before I was teaching at Drexel, like always like in my corner, like my kids met her, like she was really wonderful, but she kept it real and kind of kept everyone grounded. And I think that for me in particular, I did a lot of work related to sort of like pushing for more presence and more places for women on campus. Because at the time that I was at Tech, I think it was like maybe 25 or 30%, like 27%, like women.
Are you sure it's even that high? I would guess it was even lower.
Yeah. So like, Georgia Tech was like, I think the ratios have improved, but it was pretty bad. And so like helping establish like a women's resource center, like I was like president of like the Women's Awareness Week, and I was like president of the Women's Student Union. But like these are like roles I would not have taken on without her encouraging me to just like put my hat in the ring. So just try it, see how it goes. Don't worry about being perfect. Just try to create some legacy and significance for the people that are following you so that these things can continue and so that you can make a difference. And it's not about your name on it. It's about like who you're serving. And it was very much a servant leader role. And I would say that's something that's carried with me kind of everywhere. It's like how can what I'm doing now create some positive change for the immediate community, for the people that I'm working with, for the people that are following me? I think from a generational standpoint too, like one of the quotes that I came across like as an adult was like, I think I'm messing it up. It's like a Greek proverb that says like a wise man plants seeds for a tree under which the shade he will never sit, or something like that. You probably heard some version of it, right? But this idea of like being a steward, and so the significance of what you're doing today is long lasting, long after your name is forgotten, right? And it should be, and it should be something where you're creating some benefit. And then like, even as a Girl Scout, like, leave a place better than you found it. So I think like as a designer, that's something that's kind of followed me and kind of been in my ears. Like, am I creating harm with what I'm doing? Or even as an instructor, am I creating some positive change? How will this change have some sort of like lasting effect? And how will that continue to like improve the conditions of people like going forward? And I think that that's something that I think about when I interact with students, like other faculty, like when I was doing client work, right? But I don't know, that's something that I can't get away from in the back of my head. And so it was never about like titles or positions or like where I was. It was just like wherever I am, what am I doing to like create some positive change here?
Yeah. So one question I get is, especially from younger generations, like, but how will people know about me and know to hire me if they don't associate my name with the work? And I'm curious how you would respond to that.
So I would say maybe like I can only talk about my direct career. It seems that people find you if you're just doing the work. I also am a generation where I don't really get LinkedIn. I don't know and not to say I shouldn't even say it's humble brag. Every time someone posts something amazing on it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so great. I just don't tend to post very many things about me because I just don't have time.
Yeah. You're busy doing the work.
I'm just doing the stuff. And and part of me is like, if you're just doing the stuff, then you're going to be interacting with people. And this is just like happenstance, but it's not just serendipity. It is cause and effect. Like if you were interacting with people who know you, they know people who know you. And this sort of like a fractal nature of social networks, real or, I mean, in real life or digital ones, I think is super important, but it's also like being present, showing up, opening your mouth, offering to the conversation. And I do think, it is important to have your name findable so that someone can at least tag you or find you somewhere. But I found that usually people will share people's names. So like, they talk about like role models, mentors, and sponsors. And sponsors are people who like mention your name in a room where you aren't, so that you can be, opportunities can, become available to you. And I think sponsorship doesn't get talked about enough, but people do that still. So they like, I just met this person who has impressed me or did something really cool, or you really got to meet them. And this introduction that will happen usually means that names get out there. And I don't think it has to be out there on the marquee. I think sometimes it just needs to be connecting you to the person you need to be talking to. So that could be just a one-on-one intimate conversation. It could be putting you in front of a big group. It could be, putting you onto a team of people who are amazing that you're contributing to. But I do think that that's where the significance comes in, is if you are making enough of a mark in what you're doing, then the success will find you. And if success to you looks like your name on things, then that's fine. But usually it should be about like the work that you're leaving behind, in my mind. And that's just the lesson that I've learned, right?
I love that. Yeah. I love that tree. It reminds me of a quote my mentor shared with me, which is related to innovation, which is, he said, when you plant a seed, every day you don't pull the dirt away and look how the seed is doing. So connecting that with your seed analogy,
I love that.
Things,
I love that.
Right?
It's like a watch pot never boils. You just gotta let it cook.
That's exactly what it is. You gotta let it cook a little, like, and have some faith that it's going to pop up. Right.
I have some mentees, like younger people. They're like, "Oh my gosh! I mean, you've already done so much stuff, and I'm only 27 and I haven't done." I'm like, 27, 27. LinkedIn didn't even exist when I was 27. Did it? I don't even know. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like that was 20 years ago for me. You have time, like unless you have a terminal diagnosis or when your time is up, like you had the rest of your life, and then I don't know, maybe I saw too many of the Vera Wang things where she started her career in wedding dresses when she was like 40, or they send out all those things, but I'm like,
no, those stories are so important. I find those stories are so important because I mean, my own kids sometimes, I'll hear people say like, if I didn't start that sport or that instrument when I was 3, I can't do it. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh.
Even like instruments, I'm meeting so many cool people. I'm learning viola. Like, like they're my age. I'm 40, so I don't remember how old I am. I think I'm 47.
40s.
47. But people that are my age older that are like still picking up new things. My mom is an example of that. She's like, oh, my dad too. But they always like, oh, we're going back and get a certification or another degree. And I'm like, why?
Are they still coding in HTML? Oh, yes. Sorry. Lifelong learning. What were you saying?
Lifelong learning. Well, but we have a whole life, I guess. And there's no rush. And I feel like social media puts so much pressure because you see maybe certain names over and over and over again. But some of those names you see are people that have put in 30 years of work. And now you're starting to see their name. Not everyone is a 27 or 29-year-old protege who's on every single lecture, circuit, podcast, social media, reel. So I do think understanding that it does take time, but the significance will be more impactful than anything if you just focus on the legacy that you're leaving behind and not so much about what the currency of success, which is like social media mentions.
Yeah. Well articulated. Okay, so you are a lifelong learner. You are probably still thinking about things you want to learn or do. Do you have any big ones on the horizon that you're seeing?
Yes. Okay, so I have really been missing the making of the design part. So I started in design as a maker, and the tools that we use so much are digital tools, whether or not I get to make a model or not, from creating floor plans to creating schematics to creating code. Like, it's so much on a computer, and I hate being on a computer.
Why?
Because I lose track of what's happening in the real world, and I want to be out in the real world. So one of the things that I'm like really interested in terms, I think I want to learn how to be an electrician. Like, I think I want to get an electrician's license.
Oh, say more.
So
it's very powerful. But
I'm interested in sort of these practical skills that are needed for like large scale infrastructure. This is like distributed power systems, right? But
Huge.
Understanding how that works, how to repair them, should an apocalypse happen and things go haywire, we're going to need people to get back on this grid so everybody can do it. And with my hands, I could climb up a pole. I could be a lineman and help rewire things when the trees fall down with all this extreme weather that's happening. But like, there's something about the practical ability to like navigate current or electricity so that we can power some of these things like air conditioning and life support systems and dialysis equipment and maybe the internet or whatever that looks like. We're going to need electricity. So that's something that I am interested in doing. So I have looked at some community college classes to see if I could do that. But it allowed me hands-on, not just sitting in front of a computer, but still connected to the grid.
Both metaphorically and literally.
Yes.
There's so much in that.
I know. And I just feel like that's going to be something I need to know intimately should bad things happen. And by the way, bad things happen. People are having storms and trees are falling down on light poles all the time. So this is not like just like a worst case scenario thing, but I do think it's practical.
Very practical. And how did you choose like electricity versus like plumbing?
Or like poop. That's pretty much it.
Totally
Sludge
fair.
And poop. I'm not into it. I do think that we need it, but maybe somebody else.
Okay, that's fair. Or food systems or other core. Okay, I love it. Yeah. So much to say there. So we were talking about tools earlier, and I'm going to try and connect this to electricity. If you could design a tool that would empower the next generation of young female leaders in tech and design, what do you think it would be?
Oh my gosh. Does it have to be a practical, or can it be conceptual?
No, it can be conceptual.
Oh, whatever, a bullshit meter.
Oh, say more. How would that work?
Well, I think that so many people are so focused on like how they can show up and be like the best performer in a career. Yeah. And so I think what goes into that sort of driven or ambitious personality is a certain level of trust. And I think when you're so focused on maybe the academic or the learning or the practical side of things, the people reading side of things, that part of your brain is not as attuned. So I do think so that people can focus on their craft. They need something else to offload the reading and distrust of people so that they can actually know who to trust, who not to trust, who to collaborate with. I think, just looking at history, how much of the accomplishments of women and minorities, whether underrepresented or not, have been like discounted or stolen over the years. And, trusting that people will just see your contribution for what it is and give credit where credit's due. And maybe this is like going back to what I was saying before. So few people are focused on getting the credit, that they're so focused on the impact. And again, maybe there's some level of altruism there, maybe it's naivete. So how do you make sure that you have enough credit, not just from a money standpoint, but think about how many more women would have been involved in STEM careers with more of this sensitivity on like the psychological side, the social sciences, and bringing all of that together. If they had known that how many women had contributed to where that we are right now in terms of like our current state of technology and communication, like knowing that there was a place for them. And so when your name is not mentioned, when you're erased from the conversation, erased from the history, then the story can't be told, and the story can't go on to inspire. And the story can't go on to inspire, then people see that, "Oh, it's not really a place for me there. It's only a place for these types of people."
These people, right.
So, and but I also think that like even navigating careers in terms of like mentorship and just knowing, understanding like the people's own past traumas from like how they've been able to get to where they are may mean that they're holding on to some values that don't serve our current generation. And I would say like looking at capitalism, like neocolonialism, looking at white supremacy, and looking at how a lot of that's permeated like work culture, industry, commercialization, and how we like extract and take resources, and it's all about the survival of the fittest and winning, winning, winning at any
Yep.
cost. And that's very much suited in like patriarchy and capitalism, which is, I would say, if people would start from scratch, like, how would you like to go about running your business or participating in
Yeah.
society? People
Yeah.
say like, I don't really want to step on other people's backs. I just want to be here doing good stuff and things that I might work for me and it might work for you. And it'd be great to share those things. And it
Yeah.
would be great to make a living off of it and have some money left over to give to my kids. Right. And I do think that for a lot of women in technology, they think, well, if I have to walk the walk, talk the talk in order to be in the room, especially if you're in a situation where you're one of 10, like, you know, or it's in some industries. And I think industrial design just happens to be like low numbers, which is my industry. There's very few women for men. So oftentimes you're one of 10, two of 10. And so there's sort of like this attitude that you sort of adopt, and like it's internalized misogyny, honestly. So how do we understand how to read within ourselves? Am I acting this way because this is like true to my ethos, or am I acting this way because it's expected of me? And also, why are these other people out in this role or this team? Why are they behaving in this way? And is this really the way that we should be going about doing things? And I think being able to like read that would be great. Tyson, hi, baby. Hi.
So it's like
I'm
a BS
sorry.
tool and maybe a reflection tool too.
Yeah, reflection
like
tool too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like
It's
a
like
mirror.
reading others and understanding. Yeah, it's a mirror. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a mirror and a scope.
And a scope. Ooh, mirror and a scope.
Yeah.
Thank you. I will wrap up with a question about advice. What maybe unexpected advice would you have for young women aspiring to be in the space of what I would call it community-centered design for you, really working closely with communities? What advice would you have?
I think understanding the value of lived experience. I think so much of us are focused on like what knowledge we bring, like what practices we bring. But I do think that there's something that should not ever be discounted in terms of like, what is your lived experience? How do you trust yourself? How do you trust your gut? And it's something that pairing that with your technical knowledge, with your like experience, your time in the field, so to speak, I think is important. And I think one of those things that's happening right now a lot in the conversations around, for my age, perimenopause and menopause, like suddenly it's off the top of everyone's tongue, and something that I've been very openly talking about ever since I started like having a hot. I was like, what is this cooking from the inside thing that's happening? I was like, why don't we talk about this enough? Like, and there's so much that doesn't happen when you're like, well, I can't talk about these personal issues because those are separate from what I'm doing for my career. And I think oftentimes being able to have these conversations about personal matters and figuring out how they intersect with our career knowledge, I think is where the best marriage comes from, because that's when, from our lived experience, we can understand how we could apply design or technology or food or whatever, insert hospitality, towards these problems that are like focused on a large swath of society, 50%, right? That is going to be affected by this. And so we start to understand there's some value there. And I think if we only receive or understand the value of what we might do from external people telling us what's valuable or telling us what's new and what's next, then we're going to miss a lot of not just low-hanging fruit, but like super critical things. So if we only focus on AI, because that's what they told us we should be doing, then what are we missing? And I think if you reflect on what is going on in your life every day, aging parents, kids, traffic, like your dog wants to play with the other dog. These kinds of like things that are part of your lived experience inform other people's lived experiences too, because we have a lot of shared things. And a lot of people will see value in slowing down and paying attention to those and figure out a way to create solutions together around those. And I think that that's what community-based design is people giving some credit and some weight to everyday experiences and taking them seriously and actually doing something about them with the communities that's there and taking what we consider anecdotal data, stories that people can tell, and turning those into some valuable inputs and design constraints that we can then solve around or create solutions around. And I think so much of us ignore that because we think, well, that's not important because I didn't go to school, or that person didn't go to school. This community member has lived here long enough. But I think that there's value in almost everyone's lived experience. And I think especially if you were going to be in the service of designing for and creating tools and technology for others, then you have to really understand that every bit of data, every story is valuable, including your own.
Every story is valuable, including your own, is a beautiful, beautiful note to end on. Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you for sharing those stories with us, Raja. Really. And thank you to our listeners for listening to the Technical Difficulties podcast, produced by the Center for Human-Computer Interaction and Design and the McCormick School of Engineering at Northwestern University. That was Raja Schaar, and you can find out more about her in the show notes. You can learn more about the show by going to technicaldifficultiespodcast.com. Drop us a note at technicaldifficultiesteam@gmail.com or leave us a review on your favorite podcast app.